Hello, welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt. That's Christy. That's Alonso. Black Widow finally hits theaters, the movie we've been waiting years to get. Finally, she gets her own solo outing after things went south in Avengers Endgame. Anyway, Christy will tell us all about it.
Things literally go south in Avengers Endgame, but this takes place between Civil War and Infinity War. It's doing a couple different things here simultaneously. It's a Natasha Romanoff origin story. It begins as a flashback to her childhood in Ohio. She's living a tranquil life in small town Ohio with her mom and dad, played by David Harbour and Rachel Weisz, and her little sister. This is when they're kids, and you sort of see the early seeds of the tough, protective, and fearless qualities that will go on to define her as she becomes an assassin and a superhero. But then it jumps ahead to the time between Civil War and Infinity War. And so we're going to talk about this without spoilers. First of all, I want to put that out there that we're going to say things that we know because there's a lot that happens, especially if you stay all the way through the end, and you got to stay all the way, which you should know by now. But if you didn't, really stay for the end on this one. Because I would say that the end is more eventful in a lot of ways than the whole movie that preceded it. So,
well, it's the only part that's not a prequel.
Yeah. So anyway, it's about how she gets sucked back into the family business of being a spy. In this case, it is to take down the bad guy who has, what do I say? The bad guy who, can we say that there's
Ray Winstone?
He's Ray Winstone. Yes, he is.
And his MacGuffin.
Right. And there is a MacGuffin, and he's got to take down the whole system that he has created here, which means reconnecting as an adult with David Harbour, her dad, Alexei. That's all I'm going to say. His name's Alexei. He has to break him out of prison, and then they reconnect with Rachel Weisz, who is their mom, and Florence Pugh, who is their sister.
So
that's what I'm going to say.
Right. There's enough in the trailers that it's not a particular surprise that Alexei is a superhero. Like, I'm just going to say it right now.
Okay. Is that a thing that we know?
There's enough in the theaters.
Yeah,
in the
see
trailers.
him in
like,
the costume in the trailer.
Yeah. Of the things to spoil, that's not even close to the top of the list.
Okay. Anyway, so it's sort of functioning on two levels here. And primarily it is a big summer blockbuster. And in that regard, it's very exciting. It's also doing the thing that so many Marvel movies do, where it's, injecting comedy within the action. And in this regard, Florence Pugh steals the entire thing. She never gets to be funny. Like, find me a time that Florence Pugh has ever gotten the chance to be this funny. I mean, she gets to be a little cheeky in Little Women, but I think, we think her work in, like, Lady Macbeth and Midsummer, like, who knew she had this in her? She's funny as shit. Her time.
She has some fun in Fighting with My Family.
Okay, that's true.
Oh, that's true.
I forgot about that. But it's
that Vogue video where she eats all the different British foods is hilarious.
Oh, okay. But I love the chemistry between all of them here. And as is so often the case with the standalone origin story Marvel movies, like, Black Widow is sort of the straight woman in the midst of all of these larger than life characters.
Yes.
That's true in Captain America. That's true in Black Panther. It's still work to be that solid, fierce center, but everyone around her is far more interesting. And yet, it's good to finally see a Black Widow origin story. This was supposed to come out in theaters in May of last year. Of course, that did not happen because of COVID. I had a blast from the very beginning. Cate Shortland's film sort of announces that this is going to be different in a lot of ways, starting with the song that's playing over the opening titles, which really puts you in this chilling, disturbed mood off the top. And I brought Nick with me. And once the whole opening title sequence happens, he turned to me, he goes, well, that was disturbing. So it sort of puts you on edge. So I really like this a lot. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I agree that as far as like what Scarlett Johansson is given to do here, this feels like it's the season 5 finale of the Black Widow show, and she's leaving the show and like handing it off to other characters. So like there seemed to be a lot of baton passing going on. But she definitely has her moments, and it is nice to know more about the character. I appreciated, I think, having a woman directing, because like you compare like specific, like one of the things they don't go into detail here about, thankfully, was, I think we get it, is the idea that part of this whole widow program where you're being trained to be the super spy is that you are sterilized. And when Natasha brings it up in whichever Avengers movie to Bruce, it's very like tearful, and this sense of loss, and that's valid, but it also is that thing of like equating a woman's worth with her fecundity, whereas in this movie, when Florence Pugh addresses it, it's in a very like tough, sardonic way, the way that she would answer any question about any stuff in her life. And it was like, okay, yeah, that is how these people would talk about this subject, in a way that befits their otherwise like sort of, tough as nails, getting business done sort of thing. I think there's a lot of exciting sequences. This is clearly, like it's been said, this is the idea of a Marvel 007 movie. But it gives you that sort of globetrotting and the slightly, larger than life kind of stakes and stunts, but they don't lean. This is one of those movies where they don't lean heavily into the idea of people being super powered. They're just sort of like exceptionally powered, I guess, with a few exceptions, obviously. And so that's more interesting to watch, where it's not just a bunch of invulnerable people knocking each other about. And I like Florence Pugh, I like Rachel Weisz, I like David Harbour. I think they bring a lot, and like you hope that they're going to that this isn't the last we see of them.
I would say it's more like a Fast and Furious movie, actually, because it's all about #family.
Well, there is that.
It's about finding family where it's not necessarily people you're related to by blood. And the big set piece, again, this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, people flying through space.
Yep.
Is gravity defying in a way that our most recent F9 was.
And I'm going to mention something real quick, that if you've already noticed this, you've noticed it, then, it's nothing special. But if you've never noticed it, you will never not see it. Movies set in Budapest inevitably wind up at the same apartment building with the balconies and the courtyard. We saw it in Spy. We saw it in Red Sparrow. There's been a couple other ones, but like that apartment building, they cannot shoot it enough. When
I think it's in the first Mission Impossible.
Yes, when film crews go to Budapest, they just cannot get enough of that apartment building. So once you spot it, you'll see it forever.
I like this movie a lot. Sorry, there's they're chainsawing. The neighbors are working on something. I think this movie is, I will tell you this, I did not expect a movie that was going to be basically Marvel's Bourne Identity with a splash of Little Nikita at the beginning. I did not expect that at all. Florence Pugh definitely steals this movie, but I'll tell you, David Harbour gives her a run for his money, because he is hilarious as the, paunchy, past his prime Red Guardian, big talking, who like misses his glory days. The movie's great at, certain characters having their like egos challenged. Pugh's line about the poses is so funny. And it keeps coming up. She really sells it. They have great chemistry. I like, I'm splitting hairs here. I would call this more of a backstory or solo adventure than an origin story, because we don't really waste a bunch of time getting into where Black Widow came from, right? Like, we don't have to go through her whole training montage, right? It's
we got that in another movie, right?
Right.
The whole
so I'm just
thing.
As we're talking, like, this is more like, it's her own, like, this is her own comic title. It's not where she came from, but it's more like, hey, here's what she's been doing off to the side.
But it's who she was before she became Black Widow, when you see her as a kid.
The childhood stuff, I think, predates what we've already seen of her background. So that adds a little something.
Right. Again, like, I'm splitting hairs there. But I like that there are also elements that they drop in to make this world feel lived in and dare I say grounded, without going over the top about it. Like when somebody says, oh yeah, well, we were afraid that we would get one of the big ones, right? And I won't spoil what that's about, but like that's just a great way of looking at that kind of thing. I think this fits in, this would fit in this, what's going on here with, a couple of the other shows, and some of the other movies. yeah, this is the set pieces, the action is outstanding. I do think Ray Winstone is mostly wasted in this.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things where, you know, it is like what
he's
they're
giving
trying
a Jean Le Carré performance.
Yeah. And like, I get that, like the bigger issue is that they're trying to bring down the system and not so much what enables the system, because that's really like that is totally interchangeable for all that matter. I mean, they could be after the arc for all this matters, right?
You're reminding me of the one thing that did bug me in this movie is that it starts like in the mid 90s, and it still behaves as though Russia were still the Soviet Union. Like there's a lot of references to the party and to communism, and it's kind of like we're in the comics that worked because she was in the 60s, but like that's
maybe they're hanging on to that, right? They're still fighting for that cause.
I don't know. It struck me as a little weird, unless like in the Marvel universe, you know, the Berlin Wall didn't come down till 97. Like, I don't know. The
other thing I want to bring up is, you know, because you've seen this character in the trailers, the way they introduce Taskmaster.
I was going to say, are we allowed to talk about Taskmaster?
We can. So Taskmaster is in the trailers.
Okay.
I won't say anything else about Taskmaster except that they do a good job of demonstrating
the character's abilities.
The character's abilities, right? And they do a fantastic job without much dialogue and really just showing what that character is capable of. Yeah. And it does depend on us having seen a bunch of the other movies. I don't think it's necessarily fair to look at this movie completely solo by itself outside of the MCU. That being said, like I think it does stand alone almost as well as a typical James Bond movie would.
Yeah, I will say that the one spoiler I will say about the thing that you need to sit through the credits for is that it assumes that you are up to date on all the media.
Yeah. Also, if you don't know who the hell those people are, if you haven't seen that thing that they came from.
Yeah, you need to be on your game.
Okay.
Large screen and small screen.
Also, what was I gonna say? It's gone.
Yeah, this movie's fucking great. Go see it.
It is. Wait, Alonso, how do you say the last name of the guy who is?
I was going to say from Handmaid's. I think it's Fabenle.
Okay, he's very good in this. It's nice to hear his British accent. He's very sexy.
Fabenle.
Yes, he's very good as.
We interviewed him, and
helper.
He was talking about how, you know, one of the running jokes in the movie is about her waking him up, and he naps on set anyway. So it's very method.
Funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was just cool to be in a theater again for that kind of spectacle again, and just to hear the Marvel da 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 when I've been seeing so many of them on that TV right there behind me with my kid. Yeah. It was fun to bring him and experience that again.
Now I want a Black Widow June Osborne crossover. Together, those two could really do some damage.
They'd save all the children.
From The Handmaid's Tale.
Elizabeth.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. He's very supportive of his strong women, is he not?
Yeah, there you go. He's found a niche.
Anyway, I'm saying 8.2. I had a really good time. I do think that if you are totally up to date on all your Marvel stuff, you will appreciate the Easter eggs and the credit scene, but you could watch it and just have a good time.
Yes. Yeah, I think this is the handful of films where you could come in cold and most of it will make sense to you. I'll say 7.4.
8. Yeah. Go see it.
Our number's a 7.9, and Black Widow is in theaters. I guess it had an amazing Thursday night opening.
Oh, good.
It's also on Disney Plus. Is it extra?
Yes, it's the Mulan thing where it's like $20 or whatever, and it's extra. You already have to have Disney Plus, then it's extra, but then you have it for as long as you have Disney Plus.
I think you need to go see this in a theater if you can, though.
Ideally, sure. If that is something you can do, if it's something you can do, odds are good that it's showing near you. So
yeah, that's true.
Cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're currently taking votes for which Richard Donner film we'll be reviewing later this month. There's so many that we've never talked about and that at least one of us haven't seen, so that'll be interesting. And of course, we are wrapping up just speaking of the MCU and Disney Plus, we're wrapping up our Loki discussion this week and next week. So there's that to look forward to as well. Have a good week. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.